Et je donne maintenant la parole à Madame Fawzia Koofi.
Thank you, Madam President, ambassadors, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. As I was preparing myself to come and speak before this council, I talked to a lot of women and men inside my country, Afghanistan, on what is the message they want me to carry to you on their behalf. They told me the following: the people of Afghanistan are disappointed, horrified, and feel betrayed that the world is still not vocal about the current gender apartheid under the Taliban, a group that does not have international and national legitimacy. The people of Afghanistan are disappointed that during the 77th session of the UN General Assembly, world leaders did not talk about the suffering of 40 million people of Afghanistan and the gender apartheid that the regime is committing against its people. Yet, they are hopeful that this very council, the main international body accountable for the world's order and stability, protecting rights and dignity of all human beings, will act on their behalf. My people in our imprisoned homeland wants this council and the world to know what's happening under the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. According to various estimates by the UN's refugee institutions and other groups, over 2.3 million Afghans have fled the country since last August. Millions more are looking to leave the country and are desperately looking to get the passport and a way out of Afghanistan. The massive departure of Afghans speaks the volume of how they feel about being ruled by a militant group whose ideology represents the darkness of the past and personifies repression and terror. In the past, millions of Afghans left the country because of violence. We are grateful for those who hosted these Afghans. Now they are fleeing because of violence, uncertainty, economic deprivation, and because of Taliban's brutality and lack of governance. Under Taliban, Afghanistan has become a country with no law. In fact, this is the only country in the world, probably, that does not have a constitution. Our constitution is in limbo. It does not have a place for women and no future for the people of Afghanistan. And I would like you to, for 1 minute, imagine, especially my brothers in this room, that if Afghanistan was ruled, or the world was ruled by women, and you were not allowed as men to leave your home without a woman being accompanying you. You were not allowed to wear what you wanted to wear. You were deprived of your basic fundamental human and Islamic rights of education and work. Can you put yourself, for 1 minute, can you put your feet in the Afghan woman's shoes and feel the pain? I'm sure it's hard to imagine. Under the Taliban, Afghanistan has yet again become a safe haven for international military extremist groups. Inspired by Taliban's victory for regional extremist groups trying to overthrow their own government, and a place of horror for women and other groups in Afghanistan. Taliban have issued more than 31 sanctions, edicts, and orders to eliminate women in Afghanistan, banning them from all their basic human rights, such as access to education, employment, and liberty. As a result, generations of Afghan women have become prisoners within the walls of their homes. Under the Taliban, the continued elimination of women from public life has made Afghanistan like an open prison for women, who are 55% of Afghan society. Under the Taliban regime, Afghanistan has become the only country in the world that girls from grade 6 up to 12 or banned from going to school. And they do it under the name of tradition and religion. In fact, what they do is in contradiction with religion. Our beautiful religion emphasizes on education, as the first verse that came to our Prophet, peace be upon him, was Iqra, means read. Taliban also blame it on culture, while only last week, hundreds of girls in the province of Paktia protested, asking for their rights to education. The Taliban's systematic elimination of women's rights have become tougher day by day. Afghan women ask me and ask you the question, on what have they done to carry the burden and pay the price of wrong politics? We must admit that we all have failed to the Afghan woman. Women who were the sole breadwinners of their families and were constituting 30% of civil servants can no longer go to their offices. Their posts are being filled by men. They are left with no means of income. And in fact, when some of them are asked to come to sign their payroll on monthly basis, what the Taliban do is they ask all the men to leave the office and don't come in that day. And they don't let alone the women to come inside the offices. Can you for 1 minute feel the undignified process that women of Afghanistan are undergoing? Afghanistan was enjoying one of the most dynamic free media, which the credit goes to the nation for safeguarding it. In the last year, 300 media outlets were closed. No woman journalists in 17 provinces work with the media. From 2,756 female journalists before handing over Kabul to Taliban, now only 600 female journalists work with the media. They were either fired or posed with enormous security challenges that they had to leave their jobs. Those women who were in the full front of protecting the common values, together with you all, for an equal and just society, feel humiliated these days, oppressed and becoming invisible. Their personnel of former security forces, journalists, judges, government employees, activists, and many more. When they get to the streets to protest, they are being silenced with violence, arrested, tortured, and disappeared with no accountability. They leave the country in search of a peace and better future, taking enormously dangerous roads to the neighboring countries, which we are grateful for their hospitality. Their destiny in neighboring countries is in limbo, as they are waiting for their final destination. Taliban see women of Afghanistan as their main threat to their ideology. While people in my country are experiencing the worst human rights catastrophe, but that is not the only problem. The compromise, flexibility, and willingness of the people of Afghanistan and the international community, and this council included, to look beyond a dark past of systematic Taliban atrocities and into a future of hope, trust, confidence, and peace extended back over a decade. Let us not forget that in June 2011, this very council took the very difficult decision on separating the Taliban Sanction Committee from that of Al-Qaeda. The Council has decided to delist a significant number of Taliban from the 1988 Committee's sanction regime. This is what the Taliban called for, while promising to abandon violence and choose the path of peace. Yet, what was the result? Sadly, the answer was seen in the new wave of violence which began and brought new and prolonged grave anger and despair of thousands of Afghan families who lost their sons, daughters, and loved ones in new wave of violence. As of now, this wave of violence has taken on a new form, including targeted extrajudiciary killing and mass killing of different segments of the population, amounting to war crimes and crimes against humanity. And therefore, I would like to ask the Council to recognize what's happening in Afghanistan as a crimes against humanity. Everyone living in Afghanistan are at immediate need of food. There is no 24 million or 30 million. Whatever population that live in Afghanistan are in immediate need of food and aid assistance, as harsh winter is coming. Taliban have a good division of power. They claim that they have increased the domestic revenue. They paid their soldiers through the domestic revenue that they have increased or collect, and they want the rest of international community to feed the people of Afghanistan. No accountability from their side to the people. So what is next? What now? It's high time for the Council to identify and list the very individuals involved in these atrocities. Can such a measure influence the Taliban to change the course? We believe so. We believe it can. It's only appropriate for the Council to extend and strengthen sanctions on concerned Taliban figures. This will be one among several measures needed to influence the group to give the path of violence and commit to a real dialogue and talks for a true and a real peace, which is desired, but which is desired of the international community, but more importantly, deserved by Afghans. I request this Council to initiate and, in fact, facilitate a stronger mechanism for a political dialogue. Today, millions of eyes are on what this Council can decide. There is no way for violence. The only solution for the problem of Afghanistan is a political dialogue. Taliban believe that power is a God's gift to them. So therefore, they feel no commitment to a peaceful dialogue. We must collectively use all the leverage we have, if any, over Taliban to put meaningful and genuine commitment for peace process and dialogue. There are leverages including engagement. The engagement must be on conditions based on the basis of give and take. My question to all of you is, what have you gained in the last year of your engagement with Taliban? It must be clear. We are in support of engagement, but with clear conditions. Include money that goes to them and include recognition. They all should come with enormous level of flexibility by Taliban. Madam President, a safe and stable Afghanistan where it's home for all its citizens is in the interest of our neighbors, the region, and global security. Let's not trap ourselves into the narrative that Taliban have created, as they are the only reality of Afghanistan, they say. And they are the only one fighting other military extremist groups. In reality, no military extremist group can dismantle other military extremist groups. It's the people of Afghanistan, the brave women of Afghanistan, who with their long struggles can dismantle all military extremist groups. So please stand with the people and the women of Afghanistan. In fact, against the Taliban claim, their return have inspired many military extremist groups that are now operating to use Afghanistan soils to pursue their missions. I must say that we have all worked hard for UNAMA mandate to be extended. With due respect to my UNAMA colleagues, they have failed to fulfill their commitment on political dialogue and human rights. It's time for all of us to stand in the right side of the history and stand with the people of Afghanistan for their struggle to the return of a constitutional order. A safe, secure, peaceful Afghanistan can be a reliable partner to the world and a place for its citizens to stay. Thank you.
Merci, Madame.